welcome to another episode 201 of Two Throw Over Noise. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Jeff. Joining me, as always, is the other part of the show, Mark A. Johnston. Mark, how you doing?
I'm exhausted. I just did 200 episodes.
Well, if you notice, we did do the rebranding. We are now Two Throw Over Noise. We're only going to reference it here in the show, and nothing else will change anywhere else.
Well,
it's a soft rebrand.
Definitely adds some excitement to the zone here. Yeah,
definitely. Well, Mark. It's a great time to be a baseball fan right now. We've got college baseball and softball have started up about a week ago. Pitchers and catchers have reported. World Baseball Classic teams are practicing. I've been watching a lot of baseball, and I'm very encouraged because both college baseball and softball, there are a lot of real stirrups going on this year.
Yeah, that's good to see.
I'm not sure everybody knows how to wear them. I see a lot of stirrups coming loose and flapping in the wind in the middle of innings.
They'll have to learn. You know, so they say fashion is cyclical.
Yeah, I gotta make sure they know what, the horseshoe goes in the front or the back and how to keep those on.
That's right.
Stuff there. All right, well, let's get into our BP segment here. This is show 201, so I feel like we pretty much know how to do this, but let's get into our BP segment just so we warm up properly here. Hall of Fame inductees this last week. The announcement was made for what hat they will be wearing when they go into the Hall of Fame. So Scott Rowland is going to be wearing a Cardinals hat, which for some reason for me, when I think of Scott Rowland, I think of Philadelphia. But
yeah, I always think Cardinals when I think of Scott Rowland. That's funny.
So let's see. Scott Rowland, 17 years, 7 in Philly, 6 in St. Louis. And then 4 with Cincinnati and 2 with Toronto. Those are 6 lost years for me because I don't remember him playing for either the Reds or the Blue Jays. But
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What did you think about his induction?
Oh, I was all for it. I like it. I was for it last year. I was on the Scott Rowland bandwagon last year. I'm all for it. I love third baseman. I know, there's a lot of controversy around this stuff, but I don't care. I'm all for it. I was also all for Fred McGriff, though.
That's true. And what about Jeff Kent?
See, now I have a hard time separating my personal feelings, just like Kurt. Well, Kurt Schilling does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He was a great postseason pitcher. He was not a Hall of Fame regular season pitcher. But Jeff Kent, I got a hard time. That guy is such a tool.
He's got the same numbers almost as Owen. It's just weird.
Yeah, he's just, he just did not like the media and treated everybody like, it was a chore to be doing whatever he was doing.
Baseball's hard work, my friend.
It's not as hard as washing your dirt bike in the back bed of your pickup truck and then hurting yourself.
No, that's intelligent.
No, it is. So I did want to get to this. The Fred McGriff hat. He's going to go in with no logo.
What?
Yeah, now I'm a little upset here. Now, Fred McGriff, 19 years in the big leagues. Believe it or not, he played the most with Tampa Bay. He played 5 years with the Rays. He also spent 5 in Atlanta and 5 in Toronto. 3 with the Padres, 2 with the Cubs, 1 with the Dodgers. So really, I think Atlanta or Toronto is what you've got to pick between here if you were going to pick an actual logo. But I'm wondering why they didn't just slap a Tom Amansky logo on it.
Right, that's what he's known for.
Exactly. Throw that in. I bet you Tom Amansky would love that.
Tom in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. There you go.
So something happened last week. Jays manager John Schneider, who, by the way, is not the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, he's not?
Was that John Snyder in the Dukes of Hazzard, I think?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but I'm still looking into that. I don't think it's the same one. It is the Blue Jays manager, though. He saved a woman from choking at a restaurant last week in Dunedin, down in the Jays spring training area. His reward from the restaurant for saving this patron's life, a free beer.
Wow. See, now there's something to be said about a free beer.
Well, I mean, they could have picked up his check for his meal, but no, we'll give you one free drink.
Thank you so much for saving this person's life. Have yourself a sip.
I mean, did the person buy him a drink too? Did they or pick up the check? I don't know. But anyways, this got me thinking about a couple of other heroic baseball players who've actually saved lives while in uniform. So first we've got Doc Medich. He did it not once, but twice. He used his medical training while in uniform to help people out in need. In 1976 in Philadelphia, he performed CPR and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on a 76-year-old fan who was having a heart attack in the stands. They did get him to a hospital, but unfortunately he did pass away later that day. Then 2 years later, in 1978, he revived a man who was also suffering from a heart attack in the stands. That dude survived and lived several more years, thanks to Doc.
Wow.
Now, it's not all great and happy for Doc. He lost his license to practice after being found guilty of several different counts of things like prescribing painkillers improperly to his friends and so forth. So,
what? Who would do that?
he was also, though, on the mound for a pretty famous stolen base in Milwaukee in 1982. Because he was on the bump when Ricky Henderson broke Lou Brock's record for most stolen bases in one season. The other one that I remember being heroic in a baseball uniform was Jim Rice in 1982. Line drive foul ball hit a 4-year-old in the Fenway stands in the head. Rice jumped into the stands from the dugout, carried the child to the field where the Red Sox team doctor rendered aid. The boy was taken away in an ambulance. In the hospital for 5 days. The family was really struggling financially to begin with. And when Rice found this out, he paid all of the boy's hospital bills.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, doctors say his quick actions prevented permanent damage or might have even saved his life. Rice went on to play the rest of the game that day in a blood-covered uniform, going 1 for 4 with 2 RBI.
Wow.
So very impressed. And then, of course, Rice also has a connection with Ricky Henderson, just as Doc did, because he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009, along with Ricky Henderson.
There you go.
Like how that all comes back to Ricky every time.
Every time.
Every time. We want to give a shout out here, a special two throw over noise shout out to the star of last week's episode, Pete, the Brewers fan, who has since that episode left us 5 more voicemails.
Thanks, Pete.
Hey, if anybody knows Pete, can you please check in on him? I'm a little worried that his stress level's a little high. Now, I think Pete might be trolling us, but I hope Pete's trolling us, but get better. All right, I asked a trivia question last week, and it was this: who are the only players to have won a World Series in Major League Baseball and a title in the NPB, in the Japan Series, the Climax Series, whatever they're calling it this year? Hey, Mark, I know you've rendered a guess.
I do.
And who do you think it might be?
Well, I got to admit that a listener kind of turned me on to this by sending in an answer, but after I thought about it, I thought he's got to be right. It's got to be Dan Gladden. Well,
can we give credit to the listener who told
his
you
name
this?
I wanted to tell you his name is Jeffrey Trotter, and Dan Gladden is his all-time favorite baseball player.
Wow. Well,
so there you go.
Well, this is good because you are correct. First of all, Dan Gladden is the answer. Well, is one of the answers. Hideki Matsui also. 1994, he won the Japan Series, and then with the Yankees. That was kind of a gimme from a couple of weeks ago. And then a couple of other Japanese players, Daisuke Matsuzaka and Koji Uehara, I can never say his name right, also won World Series, both with the Red Sox. But Dan Gladden is the only American-born player to have done both. So good there. Now, I was looking up something on Dan Gladden because I saw his nicknames. One of his nicknames is Wrench, which I had not heard before. Apparently, Twins fans know this nickname. It's short for Mr. Goodwrench. And this came from Kent Herbeck. And he said that Dan Gladden looked like he had finished performing an oil change on a car at all times during a game. He said, quote, he reminds me of a guy who took 4 auto shop classes in high school. Dan could strike out 4 times in a game and somehow get dirty. That guy is a piece of work. End quote. So that's how he got the nickname Wrench. Now he's also nicknamed Dazzle, and I have no idea. There were several references to his nickname being Dazzle, but I couldn't get to the bottom of how he came about that nickname. But I did get this little nugget here. Dan Gladden has 2 daughters, one of whom married Gary Gaetti's son.
Oh, wow.
So keeping it in the Twins family. Now, if they had twins, that would be...
Yeah.
So let's see. We've got a couple of the usuals that got the answer right here. Of course, Brian Krause came in strong. Shane Swarznak, Dan Clark, and I think this is the same person that wanted to be known as Ricky Henderson Sucks last week. He this week wants to go by Nolan No Cy Young's Ryan. So
nice guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Just remember, Cy Young doesn't have a single Cy Young to his name either.
True.
So
Cy Young never won it.
chill out there. All right. Next question. We're getting close to debuts, which is exciting for me because I like debuts a lot. But another trivia question here. We're going to go back to some stolen base trivia. I tend to live in that area. Who is the tallest player to ever steal a base?
Ooh.
Oh, by the way, speaking of tall, nothing to do with trivia. Mark, I was just telling you before we started here, I had a tryout this week for a men's hardball wood bat baseball league, and it was in Livermore, California. I played on the field where retired out there in left field was number 51, Randy Johnson.
Ooh.
His high school. So that's
wow.
I thought that was pretty cool. I saw these numbers and I'm like, Johnson. I'm like, oh, that's very nondescript. And then I saw the number 51 and I'm like, wait. He's from the Bay Area here, and I put 2 and 2 together. So
there you go. Nice.
Thought that was pretty cool. All right. So that's going to do it for our BP segment. Grounds crew is out here. They are in mid-season form already, moving stuff around, chalking it. They've got that string from home plate all the way out to right field and left field so they can chalk the lines perfectly. And we are going to get on with our main portion of the show here. I have no idea what we're going to talk about today. Mark, this is all on you to carry it.
All right. I just made stuff up.
Oh, okay. So it's our usual show.
No, actually, I'm going to talk about the Fashion Racecourse Series. This was in 1858, and it was what we call the first All-Star game. It was also the first game to charge a paid admission, and it's a very important game in the history of baseball, and I'll tell you why. The Fashion Racecourse used to be called the National Racecourse, and in 1856, the owners of the course changed it to the Fashion Racecourse, naming it after the horse named Fashion.
Oh,
Ever heard of the horse named Fashion?
No, I thought it was named after Stephen Fashion.
No, a horse named Fashion was famous enough to have a course named after it, but not famous enough for me to know who the heck it is.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I know Secretariat and Man o' War.
Seattle Slew, man.
Seattle Slew. There you go.
So they decided to play it out at this race course. Baseball at the time was governed by the NABBP, the National Association of Baseball Players, and they were all for the idea. They picked out the Fashion Race Course, and they set it in the enclosed grandstand area. This was actually the first time a baseball game had been in an enclosed grandstand type area played. They decided to play a best-of-3 series, one in July, one in August, and one in September if needed. The Brooklyn All-Stars would play the New York All-Stars. This is when Brooklyn was its own city. I think New York was just Manhattan at the time. They decided they were going to play the best-of-3. The New York Stars won the first game 22-18.
Pitcher's duel.
A pitcher's duel. And you got to remember the rules back then are a little wonky too. On this game with the New York Stars was future Hall of Famer Harry Wright. We dropped one name in there. Game 2 was in August, and Brooklyn moved their pitcher Matty O'Brien to third base.
Shrewd move. That is.
I thought so.
Manager earning his money.
This guy's important. Frank Pigeon, the Brooklyn shortstop. He became the pitcher. Dickie Pierce of the Atlantics took over at short. So Brooklyn easily won this game 29-8. New York's pitcher Tom Van Cott, He had thrown 198 pitches in game one, came back to throw 270 pitches in a losing cause. Frank Pigeon, of course, outdueled him with 290 excellent, solid pitches.
So they 290 and 270 pitches?
Yeah, nice slow game. I'm sure plenty of time to get snacks in between innings. The third game and deciding game, September 10th. Brooklyn, after it had completely crushed New York in the previous game, was a big favorite. They went in and they were pretty confident, and they shouldn't have been, because New York handily won 29-18. Joe Gelston hit a leadoff home run that was followed by 6 more runs before the side was retired. And of Pigeon's eventual 436 pitches in the game, 87 came in the first inning. So it was a little rough.
But for a deciding game, when does the manager decide he's got to make a move? Because that seems like that might be the time.
You got to remember, they only had 9 players on each game. There was no bench.
Yeah, but you got to bring in the right fielder at that point.
Well, you got to imagine at some point they had to get his arm and reattach it, because that's just nuts.
Any word on how many walks in that first inning?
Doesn't say here, but back in those days,
it's like 8 balls to get a walk.
Balls. Yeah, and interesting. I got some other stuff about that here coming up soon here, but okay. So the makeup of the teams: the New York Nine had 2 players from each of the New York Knickerbockers, the Eagles, the Gothams, and the Empires, and they had 1 player from the Unions. The Brooklyn team had 3 Atlantics and 2 players each from the Excelsiors, the Eckfords, and the Putnams. All teams that we've discussed at one point or another. You know, back in the I don't even know what to call these, the golden days of baseball. These were the
early days,
the pop-up days. Yes, early days of baseball. There were a lot of firsts that happened in baseball that day, or in the Fashion Course games. You know, the first All-Star game, first paid admission. They actually had to charge admission because they had to set up the baseball course inside the Fashion Race Course and put some seats in and so on like that. So they actually charged admission, and people paid. Believe it or not, it wasn't $400 a ticket back then.
Well, what was it?
It was like a
button.
It was a subway token, and no.
Stale candy corn?
No, I don't know how much it was to get in.
It was, well, then you don't know that it was not $700.
I read it somewhere. It had something to do with like about a third of a day's pay.
Let's see. Although not planned as a fundraiser, admission was charged only to cover expenses. The match, though, was a financial success.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Some other things that happened there. First baseball game played in an enclosed park. We talked about that.
So did that mean that there was a wall out in center,
Yes.
out in the outfield?
Yes, there was a fully enclosed park. You couldn't just run for an hour and a half if you hit it.
Oh, so I'm guessing it's probably not exactly similar, but the polo grounds, right? That was made for polo. So it was kind of elongated as opposed to the baseball, that we're used to, where it's essentially a diamond. So I'm guessing this is the same case. I'm guessing it was probably like 892 feet to dead center field, but there was still a wall there for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. It was fully enclosed. There were almost 15,000 paid admissions by the time of the end of the 3 games. They were promoted by none other than Henry Chadwick, the baseball rules expert, and the editor of the Spalding Baseball Guide. Here's something interesting that happened. In the 3rd game of the series, umpire Doc Adams of the Knickerbockers called 3 men out on non-swinging strikes.
Ooh,
this
got
is
him
the
looking.
first time that it ever happened.
Was there an argument?
It doesn't say there was, but you would think somebody might go, "Hey, man, I didn't swing at that."
Or did they not get in the batter's box quickly enough, and so there was an automatic strike called?
I don't think that rule was,
was
part of it.
The clock did not run out. Okay, just checking.
Some interesting notes from the games. In Game 1, Brooklyn catcher Joe Leggett got charged with 11 passed balls. 27 of the outs in that first game were fly balls caught on the first bounce. That was the rule back then.
Yeah.
You catch it on one bounce, you were out. 27 of the outs were fly balls caught on the first bounce.
So half of the outs for the entire game were on one bounce.
That's
Does
right.
that even, like, if you one hopper to the shortstop, that counts as like a fly out to short?
Yeah, I think so.
Not a lot of ground balls, I'm guessing.
No, you didn't have to pick it up and throw to first as long as you caught it on one bounce. According to the local papers, Brooklyn took defeat gracefully and smiled good-humoredly and hoped for better luck another day. Sure they did.
Go get them.
Okay. So September 10th, rubber match, perfect weather, about 5,000 in the crowd, 7 runs in the first inning, 8 more in the middle innings. The game was 15-6. Brooklyn went on to score 12 runs in the last 3 innings, but New York scored 14, winning the game and the Fashion Racecourse Series 29-18 in the very first All-Star game.
I'm looking through the internet here, and there is an auction. At least there was in 2005.
Yes, of a lot of the items from this game.
One of them is an 1858 Fashion Course Game Trophy Ball. That it looks like it's one of the lemon peel balls that they played with at that point, and it is in a ornate box, and it looks like the golden snitch from Harry Potter. Because it's gold and it's got a ribbon that looks like it's got wings next to it. But that sold for $498,000.
Ooh, wow.
I mean, that's a really cool item. I mean, if I had $500,000 to burn, I might consider it.
Yeah, I mean, here you go. You got your first All-Star game. Here's the ball. But yeah, just on the budget I'm on right now, it might take me a little bit to save up.
You could probably paint a tennis ball gold and put it in a to-go box from dinner last night. But
no, then it would get that buffalo sauce all over it. Anyway.
Oh, wow. Well, Henry Chadwick has signed a photograph in this as well on this display case box.
A much bigger name than Henry Chadwick.
So, Mark, we're looking at the at some auctions from the past of when these went on sale, and it got me to thinking because I was looking at some auctions of game memorabilia, specifically Ricky Henderson stuff that I can't afford. But I found something really cool. It has nothing to do with the fashion race course stuff you're talking about here. But I found this. Tom Glavine is apparently put a bunch of his stuff up for auction. I found a pitching chart of Tom Glavine's 150th win.
Really?
Which is cool enough, as it is. But if you remember back in the day, usually the next day's starting pitcher would be the person that would chart each game.
Yes.
Well, the next day's starting pitcher was Greg Maddux.
Man, now that's cool.
Yeah. So this is Tom Glavine's 150th victory pitching chart, as charted by Greg Maddux. The current bid is only $260.
That surprises me.
6 days left. I know. I'm thinking about it because that's a really unique. It doesn't look like it's signed,
right?
But this would be something you could get signed by both Maddux and Glavine. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is unique. This is a one of a kind thing here.
Big time. Yeah. Where else are you going to find something like that? That's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, it's either this or Andrew Jones' 2001 Gold Glove Award. I'm not sure which one. Yeah. I mean, I got a little distracted one day at work going through these because there's a lot of game used Ricky Henderson gloves and shoes. And then I just started looking at all the stuff, and there's a lot of really cool stuff out here. I mean, if you want Tom Glavine's equipment bag, it's currently at $170. So it's affordable.
I could use an equipment bag.
It's it's a big thing with the number 47 on it. So, all right. Well, I thank you, Mark. I'd never heard of the fashion race course. And if anybody had said that, I would have never assumed it had anything to do with baseball.
Yes, it was very fashionable.
All right, so let's get on to the final segment of the show. That is where we open up some old baseball cards, and inevitably, Mark scores higher than I do whenever we choose to play Wax Packs Heroes. Wax Pack Hero! Gotta pull a Wax Pack Hero! Don't stop on a podcast tonight. All right, Mark, looking at the scoreboard, you've taken the lead 17-16. It's close, but I'm very disheartened after last week's game. Today, we've got a couple of packs of 2,000 tops. So these only have 8 cards in them each. So it's going to be a quickie, but they also have random inserts of Henry Aaron and Mark McGuire in them.
Ooh.
So, yeah, we can possibly get a boost there. If you are new here, a couple of rules here. We will take a look at the baseball reference WAR of each of the cards from the year of the card, as I said, in the year 2000 in this case. We'll add those up, but we've got some modifiers that can add or subtract anything on the player's face. That means glasses, mustache, eye black. Anything like that, that's an extra 10th of point of WAR if they're wearing real stirrups like all these kids in college are doing these days. Which we're all for. You get an extra 10th of a point. But if they're wearing the 2-in-1s, we're going to take away a 10th of a point because that's not cool. Sweatbands with your caricature jersey number. Any of your final 3 seasons played for the Mariners. 2 flaps or no flaps on a batting helmet, or batting without gloves. Those are all an extra 10th of a point. If the player won an award in this year, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young. No Nolan Ryan points there. MVP, All-Star, Gold Glove, that's a half a point. If there's a Hall of Famer in the picture of the card, whether the focus or not, that's a whole point. I think, again, Mark, you're going to miss out here. Nolan Ryan shows up at any point, Mark gets 5 points. And if Ricky Henderson shows up, I get 5 points. We're also going to both pick a team. And if that team shows up in either pack, we're going to get a half a point. So, Mark, who are you going to choose this week?
I think I'd like to go with Hank Aaron's Braves.
Are you going to go with Atlanta or Milwaukee or Boston?
Yes, I'm going to go with whoever he's going to be on in those insert cards.
Yeah, I don't think he...
I'll go with Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't think he played for the Boston Braves. Could be wrong there. All right, well, you're going to go with... well, you know what I'm going to do then? I'm going to go with the Braves' rival and a team from New York, which is, where your story was about. So I'm going to go with the Metropolitans.
Very nice.
All right, Mark, I got these 2 packs in my hands here. One on my left, one on my right. Which one would you like?
Going right.
Going right. Okay, so I'm going to go first again. I'm going to tempt fate here. All right, some high gloss here. Well, you should have gone with the Brewers because there's a Brewer right on the top. So that's
what was I thinking?
Yeah, so I remember this guy. Boy, he's a big boy here in this picture. He is a reliever, Bob Wickman.
Well, the Wickman.
Let's see, 15 years in the big leagues, 6 with Cleveland, 5 with the Yankees and the Brewers, 2 with Atlanta, and 1 with Arizona. Good news for you, in the year 2000, well, he split time between Milwaukee and Cleveland, but he was an all-star that year, so that's good news for you. Overall, 3-5 with a 3.1 ERA, 30 saves, 70 2/3 innings, 55 strikeouts, and an ERA plus of 153. All of that will equal a 1.4 WAR plus the all-star, that's 1.9.
Nice.
I think that's going to be everything on this card for you, but that's a good way to start out. Wow, he was traded a lot, and for a lot of names that are familiar, I'm sure, to our listeners, let's see. Involved in deals with him throughout his career, Melito Perez, Steve Sachs, Gerald Williams, Pat Listash, Graham Lloyd, Ricky Bonas, Pat Listash, Jason Beret, Richie Sexson, and Marco Scudero. That's a lot of guys. I mean, they traded for and with him throughout his career, but that's a lot of names that we talk about. Now, I remember Bob Wickman. He had, I don't think it was a farm accident, but one of his fingers on his pitching hand was got cut off at the tip. So it was a different length, and that helped him get movement on his pitches.
Interesting.
Yeah, oh, here it is. During a childhood farming accident, because that's what they always are, Wickman lost part of his index finger on his right hand, which he credited much of the sinking motion on his sinker.
Interesting.
All right, so good start. Or wait, no, this is me, isn't it? So that's a 1.9 for me. I don't know why I was congratulating you on his All-Star year. Let's see. Next, we have got... Oh, this is close to being a Hall of Famer in the picture. But here I've got second baseman for the Rangers. It's Mark McLemore.
And he was with the Rangers. Gotcha.
Did he finish his career in Seattle, I'm hoping? I know he played for the Mariners. Yep, he did.
believe so.
Yeah, let's actually 4 of his last 5 seasons were in Seattle. His final year was with Oakland, but I'll get a couple of points for those for the third to last and the second to last. Overall, though, 19 years in the big leagues, 5 with Texas, 5 with the Angels, 4 with Seattle, 3 with Baltimore, and then single years for Cleveland, Houston, and Oakland. In the year 2000, his first year with the Mariners, he led the league in caught stealing.
There you go.
That's his only bit of black ink his entire career. Was he led the league caught stealing in 2000. But he did steal 30 as well. But see, he hit 254, 353 on base, 46 RBI, and a 77 OPS plus, and all of that equals a 1.3. Let's see. On this card, he has got flip down sunglasses and a mustache. So that'll be a 1.5. Now, I said he's almost got a Hall of Famer in the picture. He is at second base here, taking a throw from the catcher, and sliding in under the tag is Kenny Lofton.
Oh, nice.
Somebody that might be a Hall of Famer at some point. One of those committees, Kenny Lofton, I'm thinking might get in.
Yeah.
All right. Next, I have got, oh God, he's on our do not talk about list. We've already talked about him to this show as well. Here with the Phillies, it's Curt Schilling.
Curt Schilling, do the math.
All right, let's see. Curt Schilling, 20 years in the big leagues, 9 with the Phillies, yada yada. 2000, split the year between Philadelphia and Arizona. Split the year with the Phillies and the D-backs. Overall, he went 11-12 with a 3.8 ERA. Led the league with 8 complete games, 210 innings, 168 strikeouts, a 124 ERA plus, and overall that is going to still equal a WAR of 5.1.
Whoa!
And he's got real stirrups on. They're not bloody, but they're real. So that'll be a 5.2. So I'll take that from he who shall not be named. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an insert card. I was thinking it might have been Henry Aaron, but it is, I'm sure this will help. It is a special insert, a Magic Moments card, the 3,000th career hit from Mr. Padre, Tony Gwynn.
Very nice.
So I'll get the Hall of Fame bonus right off the bat.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Well, Tony was 40 this year, and it was the first time he had not made the All-Star game since 1988. Only appeared in 36 games. Still hit 323.
Of course.
Well, let's see. And overall, a 110 OPS plus, and that will equal a 0.4 as he was wrapping up his career. Only played for one more year. He's an All-Star, though. No mustache here, though. He usually had a mustache, but I'll still get a 1.4 because he's an All-Star. We've covered Tony many times. I don't think we need to go over all his superlatives. Mr. Padre, Captain Video, all-time great. Next, we've got another Padre. Here, a pitcher. I think of him more with the Yankees when I think of Sterling Hitchcock.
Yes, I think of him with the Yankees, too.
It's a great name, though. Sterling Hitchcock.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you should really have a Cockney accent, though, if you're named Sterling Hitchcock. But no, he was born in Florida. Or no, he was born in North Carolina and then went to school in Florida. Overall, for Hitchcock, 13 years in the big leagues, 7 with the Yankees, 6 with the Padres, and then 1 for the Cardinals and 1 for the Mariners. But that was in 96. That doesn't help me at all. In the year 2000 with the Padres, I like this. He went 1-6 with a 4.93 ERA and an 87 ERA plus. Overall, that's still going to get me a WAR of 0.3 in the positive.
Well,
traded by the Yankees with Russ Davis to the Mariners for Tino Martinez, Jim Messier, and Jeff Nelson.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Wow. The Yankees fleeced the Mariners there.
Just Jeff Nelson alone.
Yeah, but then
he was such a great pitcher for them.
Then you add in Tino, who obviously had so many clutch hits for them. And then Jim Messier was I always loved him when he was on the A's. I mean, that's got to be considered one of the worst trades in Mariners history right there.
Didn't turn out to be equals to both teams.
No, really didn't, yeah. And then the Mariners turned around and sent him to San Diego for Scott Sanders. So it just gets even less successful if you're looking at through a Mariners colored lens. All right, so I'm at 10.3. I got 3 cards left. Next, here he is with the Reds. I get Reds legend, Steve Avery.
Reds legend, Steve Avery.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, when you think of Steve Avery, you got to think of Atlanta, first round pick in the third overall in the 88 draft. Atlanta chose Steve Avery. Overall, 11 years in the big league, 7 with Atlanta, 2 with Boston, and then 1 apiece with Cincinnati and 1 in Detroit in 2003. Unfortunately, there is a gap in his playing career from 1999 to 2003. So I'm going to get nothing there. Now, when he came up, wasn't he like one of the youngest pitchers? You know, obviously not the youngest, but one of the youngest pitchers to ever make it to the big leagues. And then in the postseason, he was 21 his first postseason.
Yeah,
and he was
remember something like that.
He was named the NLCS MVP.
Yeah.
Where he went 2-0 against the Pirates. Let's see, 16 in the third innings, pitched 9 hits, no runs, no earned runs, 17 strikeouts, and a whip of 0.796. Wow.
That's pretty good.
His championship win probability for that NLCS was 19.1%. So Avery was part of the young guns in Atlanta that consisted of Avery, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, and Pete Smith. I don't really think of Glavine and Smoltz as young, but that's just because they were around for so long, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing on this card's going to help me out either. So my second to last card, I got another Hall of Famer. Happy with
nice.
that. Here he is with Tampa. It is Wade Boggs, R.I.P.
Always.
No matter how many times you say Wade Boggs, R.I.P., you will just undoubtedly get some people asking, he's not dead. Don't you know anything? Let's see.
It's just like when I always say that Stan Musial was afraid of the dark. I really don't know if that's true or not. It was just on a Happy Days episode.
Let's see. Wade Lee Boggs, 18 years in the big leagues, 11 for New York, 5 with the Yankees, 2 with the Rays. Unfortunately, 1999 was his final year in the big leagues. But he is a Hall of Famer, so I'm going to get that point. And he's got a mustache, as you can guess, and he's got real stirrups here. So I'll take that. Overall, that'll get me a 1.2 for somebody that didn't play that year. I'll take
That'll
that.
work.
Yeah. Oh, wait, he's got sunglasses on, too. I couldn't see them there. I want to chip myself a point. All right, well, that'll take me to 11.6, and I'm down to my final card here. This is it's a rated rookie card. So it's got the little Topps cup on it.
Trophy. Yes.
Yeah. Son of a former big leaguer who believes in dinosaurs. It is none other than Preston Wilson.
Preston Wilson.
Baseball Reference lists him as stepson and nephew of Mookie Wilson. That's kind of incestuous sounding. But
Yeah, that's weird.
Preston overall played for 10 years in the big leagues, 5 with the Fish, 3 with Colorado, then St. Louis, the Mets, the Nats, and the Astros. In 2000, with Florida, 161 games, led the league in strikeouts with 187. He hit 264, 331 on base, 31 home runs, 121 RBI, and 36 stolen bases. 30-30 season.
Man, quietly, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I don't either. Overall, a 109 OPS plus, and that is good for a WAR of 2.0. Now, he definitely has a mustache here, so that'll be a 2.1. He's got an earring, but I don't think we count earrings.
We do not.
That's the ear is not considered part of the face in this podcast.
No.
First round draft pick by the Mets in 1992. He was then traded by the Mets to the Marlins for Mike Piazza. Thusly how Piazza got on the Mets. Then he was traded by the Marlins with Charles Johnson. So a bunch of catchers that I think about with the Fish were traded with Preston Wilson. All right, so that's going to do it. You know what? 13.7 is acceptable.
Yeah, sure.
I had 2 cards of guys that didn't play of the year of the cards. So
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer.
I guess I'll take it. So 13.7. All right, we'll go to your pack now and see what we come up with. Again, oh, wait, you picked Atlanta. No, we didn't have anybody we had Avery, but he was with the Reds at that point. So we didn't have any Mets or... your first card is nicknamed Super because he played everywhere. It is Super Joe McEwing.
He is super. If anyone was super, it's him.
Sure, I think he's a third base coach somewhere at this point. Let's see. Super Joe, overall, 9 years in the big leagues. Came up with St. Louis for 2 years, then the Mets for 5, Kansas City and Houston. At the end of his career in 2000 with the Mets, 87 games. He hit 222, 248 on base, 2 home runs, 19 RBI, a 55 OPS plus, and you are going to start out with a minus 0.2.
Good start. Good start.
Let's see. He does have some flip downs here, so that'll help you out a little bit. It'll only be a minus 0.1. So, in St. Louis, they've got Big Mac land, like in the upper deck and left field, because Big Mac used to hit home runs up there. Yeah. When Joe McEwing, who was a light hitter, was playing for the Cardinals, the fans created Little Mac land, which was a little bit lower.
Little Mac land. That's awesome.
Let's see. He's gonna be the bench coach for the Cardinals this upcoming year. So looks like he got a promotion.
Chance to work with Lars Nootbaar.
Oh yeah, look at that. All right, now your next card is somebody we've talked about like earlier today, like in the first round, because you've also got Bob Wickman.
The Wickman. So
don't need to cover him again. All-Star year. This just wipes out one of my better cards. Let's see. Overall, it was a 1.4. Plus, he's an All-Star, so that'll be a 1.9. You'll get a 1.9. I don't think we need to rehash the whole farming incident, but. All right, next you've got a Mariner here wearing a navy blue uniform. I love it. David Bell.
Oh, David Bell, yeah. Solid third baseman.
Let's see. David Bell, brother of Mike, grandson of Gus, and son of Buddy. Let's see. Overall, 12 years in the big leagues. Philly for 4, Mariners for 4, Cardinals for 4, then Cleveland, San Francisco, and Milwaukee. In 2000 for the Mariners. 133 games, hit 247, 316 on base, 11 home runs, 47 RBI, and 81 OPS plus, and that'll equal a 0.8 WAR. Nothing on this card is going to help you out, so that'll just be a 0.8. No, I mean, obviously, David Bell is the manager of the current manager of the Reds, which it's a tough job right now.
Yes, it is.
I say that as an A's fan. All right. Now, I'm a little disappointed here because we've got an insert card, and it's a Henry Aaron with the Milwaukee Braves. Now, you said the Atlanta Braves because I asked you specifically, and this is with the Milwaukee Braves. So I'm not going to give you that half a point. Now, I think what we decided on these, though, is we decided to go with their best year.
Yes.
So let's call up Henry Aaron.
I bet he had a couple good years.
I'm guessing he probably did. And we're going to go with his best year in Milwaukee.
Sounds good.
All right. So that goes from 1954 to 1965. Jeez. It looks like we're going to go with 1963, where he was he's a Hall of Famer, obviously. He's an all-star, came in third in the MVP balloting. Hit 319, 391 on base, 44 home runs, 130 RBI, 31 stolen bases, 5 caught stealing. His whole line is almost black ink here. An OPS plus of 179, and that will equal a 9.1.
Way to go, Hammer and Hank.
Yeah, well, so let's see here. Of course, he is a Hall of Famer, so you'll get that. He was an all-star this year, so you'll get that. So that brings you up to 12.8. And Henry single-handedly has almost sunk me there, but that's what Henry Aaron does.
This is what Henry Aaron brings to the game.
Yeah, that's what he brings to the table. That's why you drafted him.
That's right.
All right. Well, I can't argue with Hammer and Hank. All right. Next, you have got a pitcher here for the St. Louis Cardinals. A little bit of a letdown after Henry Aaron. It's Kent Bottenfield.
Well, they're in the same ballpark. Like at some point they may have been in the same ballpark.
Yeah, no, and I'm not throwing shade at Kent Bottenfield, but, Henry Aaron. Kent Bottenfield, 9 years in the big leagues, 2 with Colorado, 2 with St. Louis, 2 with Chicago, 2 with Montreal, then the Giants, Phillies, Angels, and Astros. In 2000, he started with the Angels, ended up with Philadelphia, ended up 8-10 with a 5.4 ERA, 171 innings, 106 strikeouts, 92 OPS plus, and that will equal a WAR of 1.5, which will put you ahead of me by 0.6 of a point with 2 cards left.
It's another battle.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too good though. Kent Bottenfield was drafted by the Expos, so that's at least feel good points. Let's see. Overcame a near fatal heart condition and turned his attention to music. He has released 2 independent Christian albums entitled Take Me Back in 2004 and Back in the Game in 2007. Currently the head coach of the Palm Beach Atlantic University baseball team, where he replaced head coach Gary Carter after Carter died of cancer in 2012.
Oh, wow.
All right. Next, you have got a draft picks card here. You've got an Oriole and a Yankee. I'm going to let you choose either of these two because I've never heard of either of them. For the Yankees, it's David Walling, and for the Cardinals, it's Mike Paredes.
I'm going to go with David Walling.
Well, David Walling never made it to the big leagues.
Right on.
He did spent 4 years in the minors, got up to AAA, but never got that call up. So nothing there is going to help you out. All right, next, this will probably get you some points here with the Rangers. It is Juan Gonzalez.
Juan Gonzalez.
Let's see, Gonzalez, 17 years in baseball, 13 with the Rangers, then 2 with Cleveland, 1 with the Royals, 1 with the Tigers. In 2000, his lone year in Detroit, hit 289, 337 on base, 22 home runs, 67 RBI, and a 116 OPS plus, and that will equal a 1.9 WAR. He does have a mustache, so that'll take it up to an even 2 and pretty much ensure your victory with 16.3. Oh, he was traded for Bill Hasselman at one point.
Oh, wow.
Hasselmania running wild. Wow, in the youth league in Puerto Rico where he grew up, he batted cleanup behind Bernie Williams.
Oh, wow. And
they also faced Ivan Rodriguez in those league matches.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Good ball players.
Yeah. One of his other nicknames was Igor, that he was nicknamed after Igor the Magnificent, who was a wrestler.
Okay.
All right, so you're at your final card. You're at 16.3. As long as you don't minus 3 WAR, you should be pretty happy here. Here we go with catcher for the Brewers. It's Dave Nilsson.
I do recall Dave Nilsson.
So I remember Dave because he's Australian. Let's see, Dave Nilsson, overall, spent 8 years in the big leagues. Unfortunately for you, 1999 was his final year. Which means you're not going to minus anything. So you've got the victory sewed up. His final year in 1999 was an all-star year. Hit 309, 400 on-base percentage.
Nice.
After 1999, he became a free agent and opted not to sign because he wanted to play for Australia in the 2000 Olympics.
Okay.
Wow. Before leaving, he had been Australia's second highest earning sportsman behind Greg Norman. Wow, he even appeared for Australia in the 2004 Olympics and then appeared for Australia in the 2006 World Baseball Classic. So,
nice.
Yeah, he had
keep playing, man.
Long career, and then he's been coaching since then in Australia. Currently lives in Brisbane and the manager of the Brisbane Bandits, or was. Doesn't look like he is anymore. All right. So there you go. Mark, I'm not enjoying this. You are now up to 18 wins. You're 2 away from winning it. 18-16 is the score. Not my best pack there, but I'll go and reflect in my locker and hopefully come back next week.
Maybe I can give you some pointers on this game here.
Should I flip the spread or just... All right, so that's going to do it for this edition of Wax Pack's Heroes. Also going to start to wrap up the show. If you want to get a hold of us, there are several different ways you can do it. We've got a phone number, which is, if you want to know, just ask Pete, the Brewers fan, because he's not listening anymore at this point. He does not like Wax Pack's Heroes, so he is no longer listening. If you want to, though, it is 607-213-8811. Just leave us anything. You want us to talk about something? You want to tell us that you don't know what OPS Plus, how it's different than OPS? Go ahead. Leave us a message. You can also find us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, or on Facebook. All those links will be in the show notes. Mark, also, you have an email address you would like people to use.
Or you can write to us on electronic mail at twostrikenoise@gmail.com. Spell it out, TWO strike noise.
Yeah, so that is still 2 strike noise. Don't send anything to 2 throw over noise because we're not going to get it. It's just
we don't have a clue how to even spell that.
Yeah, it's just in show. So it is still 2 strike noise. But everybody, thank you once again for joining us, and we will see you next week on another episode of 2 Throw Over Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.